Hey there, YouTube. Today it's not a rig review. I just wanted to go over some things about this truck here that, good and bad. This is the RC4wd Yota. This was before the Trailfinder 2. They had these on clearance for, I think, $2.99. You don't ever see much about them. You don't ever hear much about them. And it's actually a pretty good deal for that price. Now this one's got a lot of stuff done to it, but I wanted to go over some of the good and some of the bad that it comes with. Some of the things that really need to be replaced as soon as you get it, and some of the things I've done to make it work a lot better. Like I said, this one's not finished. I've got the Mojave body for the Trailfinder 2. Now that this one, basically this is a 20th century bruiser. This was very similar to Tamiya bruiser kit. Chassis rails are the same dimensions. The rear axle's got wider leaf perches, so it won't work with Trailfinder 2 rear axle bits. We'll get to that in a minute. Body mounts up like a bruiser. It's got a hole in the front for body mount, 2 in the bed. This one I've aged and weathered a little bit. This was one from a ready to run Trailfinder 2. It was originally red. I'll show you some of that first. I've got rust and some painted details, emblems. Keep breaking the mirrors off. I did it for a test drive earlier, trying out some of my new suspension mods. Got dirty bed. No lights in this one yet. I'm not a big LED person. I just like to build them. I'll go ahead and pop the body off here and show you a little bit more about it. So you've got 2 chassis rails, front motor, transfer case, leaf springs. Basic design similar to the Trailfinder 2. First thing you need to do if you do get one of these kits is take those stupid shocks off. Those RC4wd drive shocks, I don't have any here anymore. I took them all off and sold them. It's just a spring inside of a shock, and it defeats the purpose. You've got leaf springs. You don't need more springs. You need a shock. You need an oil-filled shock to cushion and control the rebound from the coils or the leaf springs. What I've got on here are just the cheap plastic axial kit shocks. I took all the springs off. These were the dual rate with the little fake overflow chamber, and they work really well. I think I got all 4 of those for like $15 to $17 on eBay, and they do the job nicely. One thing you'll notice I've done on this one is I've turned the front end around. I've mounted the shackles on the front and the perches for the leaf spring on the rear. It's more like a real truck that way. But the main reason I did that was because it wouldn't fit right with the Mojave body. The wheelbase is a little bit longer than the crappy Lexan body it came with, and that moved it up just a couple millimeters so it fit the tire wells perfect. And it's more like the real truck. The real truck has shackles in the front. Not a whole lot of flex. It's leaf sprung. I've got these leaf springs are broken in. They're softened up quite a bit. I don't like those red ones that they sell. They're just too soft. And I have 1 leaf on each side, on each corner, underneath it. And on the rear, I have another leaf on top, because this thing, the way their ESC is, it stops on a dime. And you take off and stop a whole lot, you'll start to get axle wrap, and your leaf spring will start bending up right here, and it'll get out of shape. And it pretty much ruins the leaf spring. So I found to put a long leaf on the top. I've got one on the bottom as well. And that'll help prevent that from happening and make your leaf springs last a lot longer. On the front, I just used the standard shock mounts bolt to the frame rail. On the bottom, I've done a little bit different, because these shocks are a bit longer than the RC four-wheel drive scale shocks, so they are mounted to the bottom holes on the Yota axle instead of to the bracket that's on the chassis, or on the leaf perch. Another big thing I've done, I've flipped the transfer case mount upside down. It's just way too bulky, sticks down too far. This one, it pretty much keeps your transfer case in the same spot. I've made this little sheet metal mount and bolted it to the other holes on the other side of the I think this is a Triton transfer case, the older model. That'll get the job done, and it looks a lot more scale than that giant aluminum crossmember hanging out in the way. That's easy stuff to do. You can pop that out, flip that around. It made it actually, because they just have on the kit, all the electronics are just taped to the transfer case, and it looked pretty cruddy. So now you've got that nice flat aluminum surface to tape them all down to. I've redone all the wiring the way I like to do it. Another big problem with this kit, there's nowhere to put the battery at all. All the Trailfinder 2 and the D90s, they all have a battery plate that bolts to the rails. This has nothing. You're supposed to, I guess, strap it to this rear cross member with these stupid Velcro straps they give you. And that didn't work because I've got my body, it's got the drop bed and it's lowered down quite a bit. Try to make it look more scale. So that didn't fit back there. Plus it's shown through in the tire wells. So I just got more sheet metal, bent the ends down. I sandblasted it, painted it black, and I bolted it into the leaf perch. So it's inside there with the nut. Let's see if I can show you that better. Real simple to do. Just got some sheet metal from Home Depot and cut it out with some snips, bent it on the vise, and I just sandblasted it because that stuff has a like a galvanized, but like a zinc coating. The paint doesn't like to stick to it, so I blasted it down the bare metal. Got a little texture on it so you can paint it. And for the rear shocks, because of the Mojave bed sticking down, I only had about this much space underneath there for the shock, so the shock mounts that came with would not work because they set up about this high. Plus, you can't really put your shock on the outside. It had to be on the inside because there's no room on this bruiser axle. So the Trailfinder 2 has a similar angled shock setup. All these are right here, their holes were already there. These are like Tamiya kit servo mounts. That high strength plastic. Bolted through, shocks bolted to the end. They're nice and sturdy. Keeps the shocks out of the way. Looks pretty cool from backside. Now the body mounts I use, these are bigger than the ones that came with. It comes with little aluminum ones. But I needed them in a different place for the Mojave body. These, I think these came off of a T-Max or something I had a long time ago. Just something I had in the spare parts bin. It makes it a little more sturdy since you only have one mount in the front. I did finish this yesterday. I made a custom exhaust. Kind of rusty. Not real good, but tied up with paperclip axle or exhaust hangers. They can get bumped and beat around on the trail and it'll still hang on. Might fall off, drag the ground like a real truck would. But the main problems with the kit were the shocks, some of the layout. There's no place for a battery. The steering was horrible. And I got to looking. They have a plastic servo horn, and they have a little bitty sharp threaded screw through it. Well, the hole on the rod end was twice as big as the screw they had through it. So that was making a ton of slop in the steering, which there still is. These Yota 1 axles have a ton of play in the C's right here. There's just nothing you can do about that. Those are tightened all the way down. I guess you could pack them full of grease, maybe tighten them up a little bit. You'd have to do it pretty often. So I trimmed the servo horn down, drilled the hole a little bigger, put an actual bolt with a nut on there. So that got rid of about half the steering slop it had. Like I said, they're still going to have quite a bit just from the build quality of the axle themselves. And there's still a little bit on these rod ends too. They're not that great. But I did take it for a test drive. It's as good as anything. It's as good as my trail finder back there, as far as flex, and I did just drive around the house, not a whole lot outside. It'll make a good trail truck. And these are the tires that the kit comes with, the Rock Stompers. Pretty good scale looking motor tire. The 1.55s. I've got the RC Yota hubs for the front, so I like those a lot. The rear are just some old Junfac ones that I've had extras of laying around forever. I did get the emblems. These are RC4wd Drive. The text is a little different than some of the other ones I've had. And it's all stainless looking. The other ones had black in the recesses. I like the other ones a little bit better, and these stupid plastic mirrors keep breaking off. I gotta glue that driver's side back on. But yeah, I mean, for what these kits are going for, and all the parts now are readily available on eBay. Everybody's bought them up and is parting them out. I mean, for what you could build one for, it is a pretty scale truck. I mean, the body's the most expensive thing I've done to it. These body sets are about $100. But that's the best upgrade you could do to it. And like I said, the shocks, and maybe flip the front end around. That was a little bit of work. That wasn't for beginners, but for a ready to run kit for $300, and it's got the old heavy solid steel Punisher shafts, the big stainless ones, even for the from the transfer case to the engine. It's got the old Disruptor planetary gearbox. It's a pretty good gear ratio. I think it's got a 35 turn in it, what it came with. Not too fast, good amount of torque. Even just running off the old stick pack. And it's got the standard Outcry ESC and BEC. And it comes with their 3-channel controller, which is really basic, but it works. It's nothing fancy, no little screens or anything. It does give you that 3rd channel. And it is set so you can do it, a winch on for forward, reverse, and off. I haven't got anywhere to mount a winch on this one yet. Like I said, I got an interior. I'm going to do a full Tamiya interior kit. Thinking I'm doing light tan with this light blue body. May or may not have a driver in it. But for as far as bang for your buck, this is a good kit. It's a good builder kit. I'd buy a couple of them just to have parts if I could afford it, just to build other trucks from. And so I like to have a lot of parts on hand just so I can throw stuff together when I feel like it. And I'll have more of this one posted up when I get it finished. And thanks for watching.